Listening to the IFF TV podcast.
Hello and welcome to Irish Football Fan TV and the League of Ireland First Division show. I'm joined by Gerard Browne and Gary Spain. Lads, how are we?
All good, Paul. All good.
Good.
Keeping well, Paul. Can't complain.
Good stuff. And now we'll go straight into it. We'll start with the league leaders at Athlone Town. They had a 3-0 victory over Wexford FC at the Athlone Town Stadium on Friday. Great win for them. They're top of the league, lads. Brilliant stuff. Gerard, you start?
Yeah, fantastic victory from probably an expected win as well, but probably the first time, even though that they are the league leaders, it's probably the first time they've actually gone into a game this season where they actually would have been favourites. I think everyone else would have been expected to kind of take results off them. So you have to give them credit. They handled the pressure in this one really, really well. They got some well-taken goals in this one. You know, Jamie Hollywood got them going in the 18th minute. Alex Wickshead with the assist, just pulling the ball back from. Had to wait then into the 76th minute for their second goal. Wickshead again with an initial effort that was saved by Tom Murphy, but James Duna was there to hammer in or blast in the rebound. And then if you get a chance to look at their third goal, Shane Barnes, I've just wrote my notes there. Gaza Euro 96-esque. It was fantastic. He just flicks it over the defender and then hits it in the half volley as well. And I think of all their kind of signings, he's one that's kind of gone in under the radar because they've got a lot of players that come down from the Premier Division, the likes of Duna and Wickshead, who I've already mentioned. And then you have the likes of, Derek Daly, who's experienced in this division, Adrian Friel. But Shane Barnes is someone that you would especially know, Paul, from watching a good bit of Cabinteely last season. He was crucial for them, popped up with a lot of goals, and he's been very, very impressive so far, and it's good to see him get on the score sheet. But they're absolutely flying at Athlone at the moment, and take on Cabinteely now at home again on Friday night. Another game where they'll be fancying their chances of getting a win, and they're looking very, very well. And suddenly now they are being put in the bracket and the conversation of being serious promotion contenders this season.
Yeah, definitely. I think with Shane Barnes as well, he was unlucky not to get a goal last week out with the Carlisle against Bray. The referee stopped the play for some reason as he put the ball in the goal. No one knew why. So look, it's good that he got a goal, and I think a big difference for them as well is having Curtis Byrne in that free role. He's just, both games I've been at, he's dictated both of them. None of them have been able to mark him. So I think it's a massive difference to them, as well as the other signings as well. Gary, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Athlone, they continue to surprise. I mean, Gerard said it. They were expected to lose to UCD on opening day. UCD needed a last gasp equaliser. Then at home to Galway, they had Galway beaten in the first, 20 minutes, half an hour. They were 3-0 up. Went up to Bray and beat Bray. I mean, they just keep continuing to pick up results. And I think everyone's been looking the last couple of years. Athlone have been bottom of the table and expecting the same. They did turn it around a bit last season. They did end the season very well. It may not show that in their league position, but they picked up a few wins. And of course, they went on the fantastic cup run, which again gets forgotten because of the hammering in the semi-final. So you've mentioned all the players, the experienced Premier Division players, guys in their mid to late 20s that have been around the block, that know what's happening. So I suppose if you look at the teams, it's not that big a surprise, but I think everyone is shocked by how well they're doing. And well, good luck to them. And now the one concern I would have is the size of the squad. And if you do look at the likes of the Shelbournes, the Galways, the Brays, they do have they also have experienced Premier Division players, but they probably do have bigger squads. And we can go on and talk about some of those clubs as well, but Bray have players coming back from injury, etc. So it may take its toll if Athlone were to get a few injuries, but at the moment they're 2 points clear on the top and flying high. 4 wins and a draw from 5 games. So hats off to them.
Yeah, I did. You said UCD got a last minute equaliser against them. It was actually Athlone who got the last minute equaliser that night.
Oh, was it? Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
Sorry
that was
about
probably,
that. Yeah.
That probably kicked them off in a way, because like they actually deserved to win that night. They were the much better side from what I remember. Anyway, UCD just kind of got 2 goals from 2 shots, and that was it. And yeah, you mentioned as well their form was much better last year. I remember seeing them against Cabinteely. when Cabo were starting to fluctuate. And they were brilliant. Ronan Manning was a huge part of it as well. And obviously him leaving was a massive setback. But look, they brought the players in and they're doing 100% better than they were last year.
So delighted to be joined by Athlone Town goalkeeper Miho Singerman here on our First Division show. I suppose to talk about Friday night's victory against Wexford and their fantastic start to the season. First and foremost, Miho, how's all with yourself?
Not so bad. No, thanks, Jerry, for having me. Appreciate it. Obviously, we've had a good weekend there, so it's just probably kicking back into the week now and getting ready for the next game.
Yeah, we said we'd get you on because I suppose you are kind of the big talking point at the moment surrounding the First Division. I suppose you've caught many kind of pundits and many people by surprise with your fantastic start of the season, top of the table. But that was another fantastic victory as well on Friday night. Probably fair to say, probably would have been kind of a game you would have been, many people with you from the outside would have been one that you're expected to win. And probably the first time this season you kind of would have been favourites. But you got the job kind of done. An early goal in the first half from Jamie Hollywood, and then 2 more goals in the second half from James Duna and Shane Barnes to give you the 3-0 victory. But there was certain stages that game where it was a little bit shaky. Heard reports that Killian Cantwell had to make a good interception at 1-0. So the scoreline doesn't tell the whole story.
Yeah, to be fair, I suppose, like you said, when you start so well and kind of play the teams that we had played in the first couple of games and got such positive results, those games against the likes of Wexford then are really your kind of banana skins, or your kind of, you kind of could set yourself up to slip up if you don't show up. So I suppose it was good and it was important that we did turn up to that game with the right attitude and the right kind of mental preparation for it. We knew it would probably be more of a battle than the previous games. Like you said, it was the first time we were favourites, so probably the first time that there was real pressure on us to actually go and win a game.
Yeah, a couple of good finishes there for the 3 goals. But I think the one that obviously would stand out most was Shane's finish towards the end. I think the commentator from LOI TV described it as Gaza-like from Euro 96. It was some finish.
Yeah, it's a lovely one for him, in fairness, because he's worked hard to get himself in, and obviously he didn't start the game, so it was nice for him to get on the score sheet coming on. And I suppose that's probably another kind of a big thing that we have. We have goals kind of coming from everywhere, especially in, I suppose, the attacking third. Those attacking players have all chipped in so far this season.
Yeah, just look at the season overall in general. I suppose sometimes football and sport in general can be defined by small little moments, and I think you have to look back maybe it's the first game of the season where you got that late equaliser against UCD, and that kind of got things going. And you just kind of wonder if you had made maybe a losing start that night, would the other results that have came would have followed? Yeah,
like momentum is kind of a huge thing in sport, and especially in team sports. So it was really important for us to get that goal and get that result and take that home. And like you said, then it could have been a different story if we hadn't picked up the point there. But it kind of feels sometimes when you score late on like that, even though you're only drawing the game, it does feel like a bit of a win, and you can take that positive momentum into the next game. And it has done, in fairness. We've kicked on since.
Yeah, like 5 games in the season, top of the table. And you look back at some of the games you won, like going away to Cork, winning, Galway at home, Bray away, 3 teams that everyone would have expected to be probably where you are at the moment in terms of the table. Have you even kind of surprised yourselves by taking such a strong return and having 13 points at this stage in the season?
Yeah, I think we have. I suppose our main target coming into the season would have been to just be competitive as a group. We had a lot of new lads that needed to be kind of bedded in, and that team chemistry needed to be developed, and thankfully it's happened quite quickly in terms of results anyway and performances on the pitch. The team look like they're playing together quite well, and we're battling. And it's not just pretty football. It is actually a good bit of hard work involved there as well, because like you said, the teams we've played against, they're top teams, and they're top teams in the division with high expectations on them. And I suppose we come in under the radar a small bit starting off, but then I think after the Galway game, and especially then after Galway and going winning down in Cork, the cat is out of the bag a bit about what we actually have in the dressing room at Athlone, and it's positive. Look, like I said, we'll probably have to just continue and be competitive and go into each game with that mindset of just kind of trying to build on last year from a club's point of view. And kicking on and taking each game as it comes.
Yeah, you touched on it there, how well the players are kind of gelled. I think I've seen someone was saying to me today, I think it's 14 signings in the off-season, only 2 players remain from last year. Like, how even more impressive is it that, given the fact it's basically a new squad, all the players are new to each other, that you've gelled so well, and like in these difficult times as well, where you don't get a chance to kind of mingle and socialise and mix each other off the pitch, it literally is just come in, you train, and that's it, and play matches. It's the only time you actually get to meet up, and you've already hit the ground running.
Yeah, like I think the club and the manager there have to take huge credit for the team that they've built. And I suppose the main difference this year, when you look at the squad, is they seem to have invested in the playing staff that have come in. Like for myself, looking at the league with where I'm located in the country, it probably wouldn't have been realistic to come here 2 or 3 years ago. So this year, Cabsy has really kind of put a good plan together, and the club have they're having a right go. So. It is really down to, I suppose, the organisation from that point of view, starting off, and then the lads who've come in then just taking responsibility and doing their job themselves.
Finally, just before we finish up, as you were kind of saying to me in WhatsApp, and we're trying to organise this interview and everything else like that, you're working from home, and we've heard so many people talk about what benefits it can have in their general lives over the last 13 or 14 months. But for someone like yourselves and for other players out there that are part-time as well, has it made a big difference or has it made much change to your kind of your structure and your routine over the last, I suppose, since you kind of came back playing last summer?
Yeah, I think for me, I have a nice kind of it's a balance at the moment where I have to be on site some days during the week, and then I can work from home on other days. It definitely makes it easier from a recovery point of view, which would have always been the main difference between full-time football in this country and part-time football. Because the part-time football, we're still training probably similar amount of times a week. You'd still be kind of, the contact hours might be similar enough, but the real benefit for the full-time clubs is that access to the players outside of work. So for me, it definitely makes it easier, because my travel to Athlone from Mayo would be the biggest point of that, the biggest kind of time killer. So being able to work from home means I don't have to travel from work to training. I can just travel from home to training. And then in the mornings before work, I don't have that commute to work either as well. So I get my extra recovery at night time as well. So definitely for myself, it helps. And I'd imagine there's a lot of players in a similar situation around the country that it's actually made life a little bit easier. But on the flip side, there's probably guys there now, maybe in the fitness industry or something like that, who are actually out of work maybe at the moment, or trying to balance the books by doing everything online and trying to fit everything in online that way as well. So it's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, nice to see Roscommon and my old man can actually get through a civil conversation there. Miho, thanks very much for joining us on the channel today, and hopefully I get down to an Athlone game and see you in the near future.
No problem. Thanks a million, and all the best.
And that was Miho Singerman talking to Gerard Browne there. And we'll move on now to Gary Spain's Treaty United. Unbeaten Treaty United, Gary. 2-1 win over Cork.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, it's been an amazing start to the season, because I've said it already, the team was cobbled together. We got into the league late and got late notice. Tommy Barrett's done an amazing job to cobble the squad together. And I think this was expected to be a season of consolidation in the first division, and it's amazing that they're still unbeaten after 5 matches, and particularly a Munster derby at home to Cork City, and obviously intense local rivalry, and to actually win it was absolutely superb. It was a great game, and I suppose with my neutral hat on, it was probably a pretty even game. I'll have to be trying to be fair like that. Cork were actually the better side for much of the opening half an hour. Ty Grind had to make a fantastic save from Dylan McGlade. Now, Treaty did kind of get the upper hand before the goal, and was a flurry of corners, couple of half chances, and then just on the half an hour, a corner from Mark Ludden, Clyde O'Connell smashed a header against the crossbar, and Anto O'Donnell was there, his second goal, a Cork man as well, to put Treaty 1 up. And at that point, it was maybe slightly against the run of play, as I said. Cork came back a bit. Dylan McGlade, he actually had a great game. Going forward, he's very good on the ball and was always a threat. And maybe a bit in the free role, like you were talking about Curtis Byrne for Athlone. So he set up Cian Coleman, who used to play for Limerick FC, actually, former Pats player as well, Ger, obviously. And he headed home the equaliser about 5 minutes before half time. And cracking first 45 minutes of football. Second half, Treaty were on top. Certainly the early stages of the half, hit the woodwork. Cork came back, they had a spell, hit the woodwork as well. And it was really nip and tuck. It could have gone either way. I suppose Cork will feel, I think probably fairness, they probably feel they deserved a point. But 11 minutes from time, a long throw from Mark Ludden. It was I think it was Matt McKevitt headed it on. And there was Matt Keane, a Kerryman, his first goal for Treaty. And he finished it with a lovely volley on his weaker foot as well. And look, even without fans there, it was a fantastic night. Treaty were clapped off. It still felt like there was a great atmosphere there, even though it was only a small number of people there. It really is, and I know I keep saying this, but it's one of those nights where you really wish there was fans, because there would have been a few thousand there. Cork would always bring a big crowd to the Markets Field, and Limerick's been buzzing because of Treaty's great start. Had done so well, unbeaten now in 5 games, and there would have been a huge crowd, and it would have been absolutely rocking to win it with a late goal like that. But 5 matches unbeaten, and we keep expecting it to go wrong, and but so far it's been absolutely great, and sitting level in joint third just behind UCD on goal difference.
Yeah, fantastic. Gerard, you have anything to add?
No, I just think the plot to it is perfect, kind of as Gary said. Munster derby where a Limerick-based side beat Cork with the winner scored by a Kerry man. It really kind of has it all, and nearly takes in half of Munster. But yeah, it's a huge win. To be honest, again, kind of as Gary kind of said, like I'd still kind of waiting for that result where not so much so that things were going to go wrong for Treaty, but more so that eventually the Cork are going to kind of pick it up. Like I honestly thought Cork would at least get something from this game, but it's mad to think that, like, you know, one of the big favourites for promotion, they're 9th in the table after 5 games, 4 defeats on the bounce. Like I touched on it there a couple of weeks ago after they lost to Athlone, and we all thought maybe like when they got relegated from the Premier Division last year, that was them hitting rock bottom, but clearly not. Like it's worse to kind of come, and we've seen a couple of casualties with managers in the Premier Division. You know, I'm not kind of calling for anyone's head. I don't ever want to see anyone get sacked or anything else like that, but I think it is kind of fair to say that like Colin Healy has to be under massive pressure, and you would fear if he doesn't turn results around quickly that Cork kind of could be under, or that his job would be under big pressure. Just one thing, kind of Gary, you kind of said there, and I kind of would echo as well from a kind of Pat's point of view. I'm just kind of enjoying, say, Pat's is a good run, just taking game by game and not kind of getting carried away. But I presume it's just kind of the same trend for yourself with Treaty United, and even though despite this strong start and you've given yourselves a good platform, are you kind of already kind of getting sucked into hopes of a playoff spot, or saying, look, let's just see how this goes and enjoy the ride while it's good?
Yeah, I think it's a case of see how it goes. I mean, if you look at the other squads around, it's a very, very competitive first division. And if you look at the squads, the likes of Galway, the likes of Bray, the likes of Cork City, they have some really good squads. And you would expect over time, over 27 games, they probably will move ahead. But certainly, I'm absolutely delighted with the way Treaty have performed, the players that have been discovered, and particularly with the way the players are really fighting for themselves, for the team. And it's a very well organised, very well motivated group of players, and that can go a long way. So at the start of the season, I was just glad to have a team in the league. 2020 was the first time Limerick had no team, no senior men's team in the League of Ireland, going back to when we joined the league in 1937. So I don't want to get ahead of myself. I still think promotion is very, very unlikely. A playoff spot, possibly. But I think there are much stronger squads in the division, and it would be a case of building towards next year. But look, you take what's on offer, and you never know. Friday night away to Shelbourne will be a real test. And I mean, you'd still expect Shells to be hot favourites for that. But maybe ask me on Saturday morning.
Good time to ask. And I just a brief mention on Cork. I'm actually going to see them this Friday against Bray, and obviously we'll talk about Bray later on. But I think that game is very important for both managers now, not just Colin Healy as well, because I think Gary Crowne will be under a bit of pressure now that they haven't won yet. because I've seen them a couple of times and they've been all right. But again, we'll talk about them later on in the show. Obviously, Gary, you caught up with Treaty manager Tommy Barrett and the match winner Matt Keane, and here they are now speaking to Gary.
It's Gary Spain here for Irish Football Fan TV with Treaty United's Matt Keane. A Kerry man getting the winning goal against Cork, Matt. You must be delighted.
Yeah, look, absolutely delighted. Look, first and foremost, look, I suppose I'm most happy to get the 3 points. But look, getting the 3 points in the Munster Derby, especially over Cork, is even more sweeter.
And your first goal for the club, can you talk me through it?
Yeah, look, I suppose we've been working on those set pieces, especially those throw-ins with Mark Ludden. Look, we've got a couple of chances off him all year. Look, this time Matt McKevitt kind of flicked it on to me, and look, I was just in the right place at the right time, sticking in the back of the net. So yeah, absolutely delighted with that.
I think you put in with your left foot, and you're more of a right footer, is that right?
Yeah, I'm right, but I work away with my left as well. So look, it doesn't matter as long as it goes in the back of the net. We're happy out which leg. It doesn't matter what leg it is.
Okay. I think you played on the right tonight and in centre midfield last week. Which would you prefer?
Well, I was on the left actually tonight. I was centre last week, right the week before that. So look, wherever Tommy puts me, as long as I'm on the pitch, I'm happy out. Look, just do a job for the team. As long as we're winning and getting 3 points, I don't mind where I'm playing.
Can you tell me a bit about the character of the squad? Because it was cobbled together at the last minute and you're fighting like tigers for each other. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, look, I suppose, as I said, it was a tough job in Tommy. I think it was 3 days to assemble the squad. But look, there's great spirit in the boys. We see in training, when we train there Tuesday, Thursday nights, everyone gets on together. There's no real cliques or anything in the squad. Everyone just works so hard for each other. And look, as you said, there's great spirit. Even when we first half especially, we weren't really at it. We had a few words at half time. Second half then I thought we were excellent, and we were fully deserved of the win in the end.
5 games unbeaten, but now Shelbourne away next week. It's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, look, I know it was for Shelbourne. I know they'll be one of the best in the league, but look, we don't go into any game fearing anyone. Every game we're there and we're going to compete, and we'll hopefully come out with 3 points. And look, we're unbeaten so far, so we're a long way to continue.
That's great, thanks. With Treaty United manager Tommy Barrett after this fantastic 2-1 win in the Munster Derby. Tommy, you must be delighted.
I am, yeah. I'm thrilled for the lads because, we probably deserved to win last week against Galway, and this week we weren't at our best, but, we grounded out, and it's great to get the win against a good Cork side, to be fair.
Does it say something about the character of your side? Because I thought you were under the cosh for a lot of the game.
It does, yeah. We got a great bunch of lads. They show that grit. Look, I felt in the first half like, it was fairly even, although Cork had a lot of possession. It was all in front of us, and in fact, we probably looked like scoring more clear-cut chances, but they certainly took their goal very well. And as I said, they're a good side. And the second half, I thought the first 10 or 15 minutes we were the better side. Then it swung to them, and then we got a decent goal from a set piece. But look, I suppose they can feel a bit unlucky, all right, yeah.
And what about Anto O'Donnell? His second goal of the season from centre half.
Yeah. Look, it was a well-worked move, and he got on the end of it, just a tap in, and I think he hit the bar. Jack hit the bar in the second half, but he had one cleared off the line as well. So, we troubled them from set pieces, and you could see they're together every day. Like, they played some good patterns and good football, but we ground out the result. It was great.
And Matt Keane with the winner at the end, must have been delighted for him.
Yeah, I'm delighted for Matt. He's used to see how hard he works. He's a great lad, and he grafts and he grinds away. And it was a really good finish actually, because it was on the volley and it was coming down. That could go anywhere. So I was delighted for Matt. Yeah, it was his left foot as well.
Yeah. Shelbourne away next week. Tough games keep on coming.
Yeah, look, they're all tough. Every game is tough. But we're up for the fight.
Okay, that's great. Thanks,
Cheers.
Tommy.
And that's the two lads speaking to Gary Spain there. And we'll move on to Ger's game. Galway United 2, UCD 2. Ger, talk us through it.
Yeah, similar to Gary as well. It was an enjoyable game. High-scoring game, late drama as well, with Padraig Cunningham coming off the bench to get an equaliser for Galway. Overall, despite the fact it was the home side that had to get that late goal to get back on level terms, I do think Galway probably slightly won this game. I think they were a little bit more on the front foot, doing a little bit more of the attacking. I kind of said this as well in my updates on the socials on Friday night. I felt when UCD took the lead in first half injury time through Evan Weir, that it probably came slightly against the run of play. Galway defence completely switched off. There was a lovely cross in by Harvey O'Brien, and then Weir hits it down past Conor Kearns. But credit to Galway, they had a great response to start the second half. Only 3 minutes in, they were back on level terms. John Coughlin made a substitution at half time. He brought on Shane Doherty. It was his long throw in. Found Rory Keating. He headed against the post. It then seemed to kind of hit off the back of Conor Kearns, ran the Conor across the goal line, and Keating then kind of responded, and he then just slammed it into the back of net. And Galway kind of continued to kind of be quite on top after that, like without really kind of creating much chances. They had a good long range effort from Ronan Hurley that tested Kearns in the goal, but he was kind of alive well. And then with 20 minutes to go, UCD went back in front. It was a corner from Liam Kerrigan, and there was Harvey O'Brien to head home. It's mad to think, like I was just saying as well to Andy Myler afterwards, like he hadn't even played 1 minute of action yet this season. He had such an impact in this game. Came in, of course, for Michael Gallagher, who was missing from the UCD lineup before the game, and obviously as well Paul Doyle, who was established himself as one of the top players in the division. He was not even involved in the matchday squad, injuries there as well. So, but credit to Galway, like again, they kept coming, kept fighting, and again, like true impact of and sign of how much it is now more than just an 11-man squad, and how you need your bench. And that man again, Doherty with another long throw in, and there was Padraig Cunningham to head home. And in the end, like I said, even though it was Galway that got that late equaliser, I do kind of felt they were a little bit more on attack footing. But credit to UCD, they took their chances quite well. They still looked a very well organised side. Obviously, the fact they were so close to victory, I think, is just seeing the post-match interview with Andy Myler afterwards. They were a little bit annoyed, and it's definitely still a better result for them than Galway, like because they're third in the table. Galway, like just from chatting to a couple of media outlets before the game, Paul Corcoran from Extra Time and Keith Kelly from the Connacht Tribune, they were saying they really needed to win this game, or they seriously kind of see how they can kind of get going in this division. So they do kind of. I know John Coffey was saying he was happy with the spirit and the performance and stuff like that, and getting the late equaliser, but I do kind of feel it still was 2 drop points for the home side.
Yeah, definitely. And Gary, do you have any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd seen Galway the week before, and again, it was a last gasp equaliser against Treaty. And if I was trying to be fair to say that Cork possibly deserved a point in the Markets Field, I thought Galway were very fortunate to get the point against Treaty. If anything, the game should have been out of sight by that. So they probably have been disappointing for a team that finished last season so well and have gone full time. And they're currently 8 points behind Shelbourne, with potentially the 3 points to come. I see they've been awarded that against Cabinteely, but it's subject to appeal. But they'd still be 5 points behind Shelbourne and 7 behind the leaders Athlone, which it's not that big a gap, I suppose, at this stage, but it's certainly not where they would have expected to be or wanted to be. Now, having said that, I still expect Galway to move up the table. They have a lot of good players, and full-time football is going to tell, particularly when the midweek games, etc., come in, and even just injuries, suspensions, etc. It's a lot tougher on the part-time players. So I fully expect Galway to move up the table. UCD, I suppose UCD are no surprise. They always lose players and they always unearth players. They did well to hang on to Colin Whelan, even though they lost Yo-Yo Magdy, who were their 2 main strikers last season. So I think they'll be there or thereabouts in the playoffs. But and that's just UCD. I mean, sometimes if you look back in history, UCD do go into some slumps in the summertime, maybe going a few games without a win. So I don't expect UCD to win the division, but I would expect them to be there or thereabouts in the playoff spots at the end of the season. But Galway, they haven't had a win on the field as of yet, and that's got to be concerning, but I would expect them to turn it around fairly quickly.
Yeah, I'd actually agree with you on that one. I had Galway to be right up there with Shells for competing for the title between the two of them, just because they look like the 2 best squads. But again, you can't say that off paper. And I think with UCD, it's always kind of the same thing. They get a few good wins, they score a couple of goals, but they're always capable of conceding a last-minute equaliser, which I've seen them do several times, including that playoff defeat to Longford, where they conceded 2 last-minute equalisers in extra time and normal time. So I think that's just the way with UCD, unfortunately. But look, they play good stuff, and they're definitely going to be up there, like you've said. And obviously, Jerry, you caught up with Andy Myler and John Caulfield after the game, so have a listen to those now.
Don't really know the ins now quite yet. We'll say the Cabinteely game, what's going to happen there. But on the field of play, it's still 4 games without a win. But it's the second week in a row you've got a late equaliser. So it does show there is good character in the squad.
Oh, absolutely. These are brilliant lads. And, it's a brand new team and we're working hard. And, you could see that today. We come back from 1 down. You could even say the second goal, the OG, was a killer. But the lads bounced back and we scored and possibly could have got the winner. But absolutely great attitude amongst the lads, and I'm delighted with it. So we played 3 games, and we've had 2 draws, and we've come back. And so we just have to cut the soft goals. But, the way the lads are battling, I'm sure we'll turn around very quickly.
A massive impact off the bench. Shane was heavily involved with the both goals, his throw-ins, and Pork, only 4 minutes on the pitch, gets that goal too. That's
what you need in great competition. The lads coming off the bench, the whole lot of them did great, and same last week. And we need that impact when we make changes. And, I can't praise the lads enough because they're working hard, they're doing great, and they show that character there tonight, when last week and tonight you could just lose the matches, but they kept going to the end. And we're close. We're close. We just need to cut out the soft goals. That's all.
I know it's only 5 games into the season, but it's already been a crazy first division. You have teams, particularly like Athlone, maybe a lot of people might expect to be at the top. Maybe it might be fair to say, like yourselves, Bray, Cork, down towards the bottom, or we've been expected the other end. Are you kind of surprised to see that it's just an even division this year?
No, because I said from the very start that this year league would be, every week would be tough, and that all the teams have invested, and they're good teams, and you have to be on your game every week. But I felt in the last couple of weeks, and particularly tonight, was our best performance, that you could see that a lot of the work we've done on the training ground is beginning to click in. It's a bit slower than we'd hoped, but that's the way it goes. But plenty of time to go, and we just need to cut out the soft mistakes at the back.
And you're away now on the road next Saturday against Cove. They don't play till tomorrow night, so it does give you a fresh chance to see what they're all about.
At Cove, tough venue, good side, know them very well. Tight venue, and always a tough place to go. And we'll be working hard, during the week. And we'll have to be on our game. Same as I keep saying, every week, every team is battling like mad, and every game is tough. And we just have to cut out the soft goals and see can we go ahead. And we haven't done that so far this season, and that's the challenge we have to do.
John, thanks for your time this evening.
Yeah, listen, as we said to the lads in the dressing room there, I think we can be disappointed with the result because of how the game went, but I don't think we can be disappointed with the performance. I think from a young side, showed a lot of character right from the start. Galway, very, very difficult proposition, very strong side. So to get ourselves up in the game twice, and for that second half, a long period of where we played, I thought, quite well, and looked likely to actually go on and maybe make it 3-1. We didn't in the end. I mean, we got hit with a sucker punch near the end. But to be honest, I think we'll be all right if we played like that away from home most of the time this year. So happy with the performance. The result is a bit of a kicker in the end, but we'll take the point. Listen, we've no God-given right to come down to Galway and win games, so we'll take the point and we'll go home happy enough.
Yeah, keep your unbeaten start to the season. A lot of good individual performances tonight as well. I suppose the main player that stands out is Harvey, because it was his first appearance of the season. Gets an assist and gets a goal, so he's definitely give you a couple of selection headaches for next week.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about the squad before the start of the year. I think we used 23 players last year, and you find yourself turning to fellas when we've got injuries and fellas in form or whatever else like that. And Harvey's been absolutely brilliant in training for us over the last while, so it was the time to put him in, and he took his chance. Absolutely brilliant. So like you say, when you put fellas in the team, you want a headache after picking the team next week, so that's what Harvey's doing there.
Just noticed looking down the team sheet before the start of the game, no Paul Doyle or Michael Gallagher named in it. Any update there as to that?
No, just injuries. Michael got a knock against when was their last home game against Cabinteely, was it, I think?
Yeah, just there last week, yeah.
So I think Michael got a knock. Paul got a knock in training this week. He's just struggling a little bit, so that's all there is there, yeah.
Yeah, and you picked up another injury as well just before half-time with Luke Bohr. Very, very heavy challenge, has to be carried off. Any yearly kind of update even on that one?
Yeah, I suppose nothing wrong with the challenge. It's just two fellas going for a ball. It looks like it might be we're hoping it's just a clash of knees in a very tender spot and it's just bruising. But we'll find out more as we go over the weekend. A bit swollen at the moment, but hopefully we're losing defenders at a rate of knots at the moment, so it would be good if that was good news for us on Monday.
John Caulfield and Andy Myler there with Ger. And now we'll move on to the game that I was at Stradbrook. Cabinteely 1, Shells 3. So obviously not much to note in the first 20 minutes, as you could probably see by my Twitter post that I didn't even realise Shells had got a penalty. I just kind of said they scored the penalty. I don't know what Shane Farrell was taken down. It looked like a free kick. Ref gave a penalty. There was a lot of chat about it. Obviously, it's kind of difficult to see at Stradbrook where we're sitting, but that's just where you have to be with the COVID at the minute. And so anyway, Michael O'Connor stepped up and put it past Adam Hayden to make it 1-0 to Shells. Then shortly after, a goal of the season contender from Shane Farrell. He says he meant it on the Shells patron. I don't know if he meant it. Personally, looking at it, it looks like he was trying to cross it and it swerved into the top corner. But look, if he says he meant it, he says he meant it. So it's 2-0 at half time to Shells. Probably expected considering the situation in Cabo at the minute after the COVID situation with Galway. Into the second half, Shells were just dominating, holding on to the ball. They got a free kick on the edge of the box. Kevin O'Connor stepped up. It deflected off the wall. Cruelly, Adam Hayden went the wrong way and it bounced into the goal to make it 3-0 just before the 60th, 65th minute. And then Cabo got a consolation towards the end. Bad defensive mistake by Shells. And Jem Campion came in, headed over Brendan Clark for 3-1. And that was the final score. Personally, looking at it overall, Shells just had more experience. That's it. I don't think they were that good. I don't think they had to be that good. They were just more experienced. I think you can see the situation with Cabinteely after the COVID thing, it's affected them because they did get 2 wins out of 2 before that. And they were looking kind of good, you know, beating Cork at home. I mean, listen, I know Cork are struggling, but at the time, Cork won their first game as well, so you wouldn't have known. But yeah, Shells just had more experience, and I think that's going to show a lot throughout the season. They didn't even have Georgie Poynton, who's probably been their player of the season so far on the field. Yo-Yo Maddie's only been coming on, and we expected him to start and get goals from the get-go. But it was good that Michael O'Connor got his first goal of the season, get him going. But again, I think Shells just have more experience than most in that division, and that's shown. Do you have any thoughts, Jer?
Yeah, probably not too surprised to see this result come in on Friday night. I think after a bit of a slow start to the season, Shelbourne now have finally found their groove and found their feet and it clicked into gear. It's 3 wins on the bounce, and they could be decided to inflict pain on Gary on Friday evening, but I'm sure Gary, the biased Gary's payment, has something to say about that in a few minutes.
Gary Neville there.
But yeah, I think as you kind of said there as well, like then 2 quick goals, just about 2 goals in the space of 15 minutes just before half time. I think that kind of gave them a good cushion and gap to go into for the second half, and probably never really looked like throwing away the lead, as you touched on there. As you said, like they signed very, very well in the off season as well. You know, kept hold of a couple of good players like Georgie Poynton. I was at the game against Bray, their second game of the season on Good Friday, and he was the standout player definitely from a Shelbourne point of view that night. And like, you know, even as you touched on, like even he wasn't playing during the night and still managed to get a good result in a fixture that has been a bit of a bogey team for them. Cabinteely, even though like Shelbourne were in the Premier Division last year, they still have caused them a couple of problems. I was at a game the season they actually got promoted back in 2019, and Cabinteely actually bet them in Talca Park in one of the first few games of the season. As for Cabo, yeah, it is kind of a question. I just wonder, did that game being called off against Galway to stall their kind of momentum, because they were kind of making their traditional quick starts this season, getting a couple of wins, but they've kind of drifted off now already. And as you kind of say, like we've touched on teams like Galway, Cork, we're going to touch on with Bray in a couple of minutes. They're also kind of struggling, that would be deemed to have better squads and, you know, more full-time clubs in Cabinteely, so you expect them to climb up the table quicker than in Cabo. So it could be a struggle for them this season. They could be down there with the likes of Wexford and Cove and not really featuring in the promotion or the playoff picture this season. But look, time will only tell. They have to go to Athlone now on Friday. That won't be an easy task for them, but if they were to get a result there, it could get them back going again and get momentum on their side.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. Gary, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I haven't seen Cabo yet, so it's hard to comment too much. But I imagine the COVID thing has affected them. That must have been a big blow to them, and I'm sure they were very keen to play that match against Galway. They just weren't allowed play. I watched Shells on the LOI TV on the opening night against Galway, and that was actually a very good point, because Shells had 10 men for the whole second half and actually hit the woodwork, nearly won the game. So it's a bit ominous when you're saying, Paul, that having a slow enough start. I mean, they also drew with Bray, which, okay, they might have expected to win that, but it wasn't. I mean, Bray have only lost 1 game. They haven't won any, but they've only lost 1. So that wasn't too bad a result. And then the 3 wins on the bounce. So I am looking forward to seeing what Shells are like. But it does look pretty ominous at this stage. And I mean, you mentioned so much of the attacking talent they have, and the likes of Yo-Yo Magdy is only on the bench, and the likes of Michael O'Connor, there's Georgie Poynton's probably the star player, as you said, and so there are a lot of goals in this Shelbourne squad. So they have to be favourites to win the division, even though they are 2 points behind Athlone as it stands.
Yeah, I don't think I was saying it was a slow start. I just don't think they've played overly well in any of the games. And I don't like you look at even Paul was at the Wexford game. He said they just weren't at it that night, and they got the win, and I think that's important as well. But I think there's more to come from them. You know, I think they could do a little better with the squad they have. But that's just personal opinion from me anyway. And obviously after the game, unfortunately I couldn't chat to the Shells lads because they were just heading off very quickly. But I did catch up with Pat Devlin and Kieran Marty Waters, and you can listen to them here now.
Paul Dean here at Irish Football Fan TV, joined by Cabinteely manager Pat Devlin after their 3-1 loss to Shells at Stradbroke. Pat, how do you feel after that? Disappointed?
Oh yeah, disappointed, but we were beaten by the better side. Goals were strange. You can complain, you can moan, you can do whatever you want. But beaten by a better side, I think Shells will be up there or thereabouts at the end of the season. We can do a lot better. Unfortunately, we've been hit by all sorts of issues and problems, both on the park and off the park. But we're not going to make excuses. We need to get on with it and just play a little bit better than we've been doing. Stop making the mistakes, and surely I'm sure that we'll pick up points after that. But beaten by a much better side tonight.
Yeah, and obviously you must be a bit worried that 7 goals in the last 2 games must be a bit worrying.
that you know, everything is worrying, but that certainly is, you know, the goals are all very similar. If you look at the 4 last week and 3 this week, I mean, they're weird, they're strange. We're not getting the little decisions either now, to be fair, you know, but that will be another excuse. I'm not going to make excuse. We need to stop the rot, and we need to get back and play and get a couple of points under our belt, because we are capable of it. But we, you know, our whole team has been decimated. There's been lots of changes since the Cork game for various reasons, and we just need to get a bit more stability in the team, and we will do. But we have a lot of injuries as well.
Yeah, and finally we'll end on this one. You have Athlone next. What's your thoughts on that one?
Well, you know, look, we need to regroup. We need to get ourselves moving again. We'll get down to Athlone with a certain amount of confidence, but we're playing the team who are probably the best in the league at the moment, and we'll give it a right go and give it a rattle. I remember last year Athlone came here, and you know, they were down the bottom of the league, we were up the top, and they certainly gave us a game and a half. You know, we were lucky to get a draw out of it.
Yeah, that's great, Pat. Thanks very much.
All right.
Marty, how do you feel after that?
Devastated. It was a decent game. It was just we made 3 mistakes and we got punished 3 times. You know, it was a bizarre game. We had chances ourselves, we didn't take them. We had chances last week, we didn't take them. You get punished at this level, so it's going forward. We have to come in tomorrow, watch the clips back, and really learn from it, because if you make that a habit, you'll get punished every week, you know.
Yeah, and you must be blue in the face talking about it, but you think the way you've lost the game to Galway, I know wasn't fair with the COVID situation and stuff. Do you think that's affected you? Because you've got 2 wins out too the first couple of weeks.
Well, it does affect you as a team, you know. Like you're down to play. We were fit. We were all fit and well. Like we had 29 negative cases, and we didn't get to play the game. We all came down ready to play, and when we told to go home, it was a bit unnerving. But yeah, it's football. You have to move on too, you know.
Yeah.
But coming in tonight and losing tonight was a bit bitter, but here you just have to move on. You can't just keep dwelling on the negatives, you know.
Yeah, and obviously, as Andrew mentioned, you have Athlone next week. What's your thoughts on that one?
Another good side. As I say, we need to get out of this little rut we're in. But if we can do well against Athlone, hopefully that can be the spark that we need for the rest of the season. But we have to come in, try and correct wrongs and go from there.
Cheers, that's great. Thanks very much.
That was Pat Devlin and Kieran Marty Waters talking to myself. So obviously we have one more game left to talk about. It was Cove Ramblers 1, Bray Wanderers 1. Brandon Kavanagh put Bray ahead in the first on the 59th minute, and then Charlie Lyons got a penalty back for Cove Ramblers to make it 1-1. That's the 4th draw now for Bray, and Cove obviously got their first win last week as well, so it's still very tight down there at the bottom. And Gary Cronin's under a bit of pressure, lads. What do you think, Ger?
Yeah, it's been talk about, you know, Shelbourne making a slow start but turning things around, but I don't think you can say the same for Bray. I think you can definitely say this has been a slow start for them. 5 games in, no wins. You look at their squad and, you know, you'd be expecting them to be right up there and kind of challenging, and with no disrespect as well as maybe to the likes of, you know, Treaty United, Athlone, Cove. Before a ball was kicked this season, there were games you would have been expecting Bray to win, and they haven't. Now, I didn't see the game on Saturday night, but I did read a report on this game on extratime.ie. From what I kind of gathered from that, they did seem to be the better team. Conor Clifford seemed to have a very, very good game. They had a couple of good chances in the first half with Joe Doyle and Richie O'Farrell. gave away that penalty about 13 minutes to go for a foul on John Kavanagh, as you touched on there. Charlie Lyons stepped up and converted it. But it's just really hard to kind of know with Bray. I suppose we've all kind of have a bit of a benefit. We've all seen them at some stage this season. Paul, you've seen them twice, so you're probably a little bit more better place to talk about this. But I like just from watching them against Shelbourne, because it was that was such a crazy game, and it was just a brilliant game to watch. I think you just appreciated the entertainment. I didn't kind of really know what to expect, or what to kind of make from it. And then when you kind of see the results the last kind of couple of weeks, you kind of think like, what's going on there? Like, they should be doing better than what they are. But as I kind of said, that like, you've seen them actually now twice since then. You saw their next 2 matches after against UCD and Wexford. And kind of, was there anything much to kind of take away from a positive point of view from Bray, despite the fact they only got 1 point from them 2 matches?
I think the problem with Bray is, and Gary Cronin did mention it in the interview after the UCD game, is that the 3 strikers up front, Joe Doyle, Gary Shaw and Darragh Lynch, they're all not fit. They're all carrying injuries. And I think that's a massive thing for them. They started off with Brandon Kavanagh up there on his own, where they could probably do with one of those lads with him playing off them. It would probably work so much better. Whereas I've always noticed in both games, Brandon Kavanagh has come back. One of those lads has come on. They're obviously not fit, though, from what I can tell. And Brandon Kavanagh gets more involved in the game. He gets more of the ball, and they look better then. Against Athlone, they had all the ball in the second half, but they just couldn't create a clear-cut chance to take. And I think that's the problem with them, is that if they have one of the lads up there, then like Gary Shaw, the likes of Gary Shaw, Joe Doyle and Darragh Lynch, one of them will take it, or they'll knock it back to one of the other lads to take. I think Conor Clifford and Brandon Kavanagh have been very good for them, and they show their class, and they should probably be doing a bit better. But again, I think it's kind of a similar problem to why they didn't go up last year as well, is that they didn't win some games they probably should have won, and that cost them in the end. Because they were unlucky, but I think that's just the problem with Bray at the minute, and Gary Cronin did mention it. And actually, after the Athlone game, Darragh Lynch seemed to get another injury in the warm down, which is unfortunate. So that's another issue for Bray and another issue for Gary. But again, look, they are struggling. Well, they're not struggling. They've only lost 1 game, but they've drawn 4. Looking at Bray, we probably thought they'd be definitely up in the playoffs. And maybe they'll get going in the next few weeks. But I think it's down to the strikers getting fit and coming back, and then it'll start to click for them. Gary, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Paul. It is the strikers. I mean, Gary Shaw, he got 5 minutes off the bench on Saturday night. Okay, Joe Doyle got some game time. Darragh Lynch wasn't available at all. And they drew 0-0 with Treaty United on the opening day. And look, if anyone deserved to win that game, it was Bray, and it was probably the lack of a striker, particularly in the last half an hour. I think Treaty were hanging on and basically praying for the final whistle. And I think if any of those, if the likes of Gary Shaw had been available, he would have probably taken one of the chances that were created. I mean, there is a very good spine to that Bray team. They've Brian Maher in goal, who's an excellent goalkeeper. Aaron Barry, Premier Division, as far as I'm concerned, centre back. And you've the likes of Conor Clifford and Brandon Kavanagh, who you've mentioned. So there's a very good spine there. I would expect Bray to start picking up wins, particularly when they can get a couple of those strikers back fit and scoring goals. Because again, the likes of Gary Shaw and Joe Doyle are good quality strikers. They will score a lot of goals in this division. And Darragh Lynch is he's still a young lad. I think he's only, 17 or something like that, but he's definitely one for the future. And he's a big, strong lad as well. So he's well capable of scoring goals. And he did it last season. So I would expect Bray to end up certainly in the playoff places. And I can't believe Gary Cronin is under pressure. I think he's got to be, given the injuries and everything, he's got to be given time. And I think probably with the other strength of the teams in the division, I think it's probably too much to expect Bray to win the division, even though they're not that far behind. They're still in the bottom half, but they're, I think they're 8 points behind Athlone. But I certainly would expect them to end the season in the playoffs. And in the playoffs, you never know. They're very unlucky last season to end up in the playoffs. They only ended up, they should probably feel they should have won the division. So maybe this season, if they were to kind of just go on a run and get into the playoffs, might be going in with a different attitude and could well be dark horses for promotion.
Suddenly that text message in Gary Cronin sent Paul, in the context of it, suddenly he's actually getting more serious about asking, can you play up front, I think.
Yeah. And I'm actually going to see Bray on, as we were talking about, I'm going to see them on Friday against Cork as well this coming week. So that's an important game for both sides. I highly doubt either of them want to draw that, so I'm sure they'll both be going for it. Obviously, injuries dependent with Bray, and then Cork. I think Cork just need to get something going big time. But it's a big game, and that's it. That's the show, lads, unfortunately.